Hi everyone, back at you with video 6, graphing trig functions, and this time we're going to focus on cosine. So before we start, we need to review what cosine and negative cosine look like, and we really need to kind of identify the key parts to it so that we can sketch it as well as we did sine. So first thing I want to talk about is the direction that cosine starts in, and I'm talking about positive cosine here. Okay, so if you look here, we have a down move first. Okay, this is for positive cosine. And also notice that our cosine graph starts at the max. We can also say the middle part is at the min, and then the end is at the max. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'm saying that our beginning is at the max, our middle is at the min, and our end is at the max. And notice that we are down moving first. Negative cosine, however, you can see that it goes up first. So it does a up move first. And then this is different. Sine was the same for both, but it's not here. Here, we actually start at min. At the middle of our cosine graph, or our negative cosine graph, we're at the midline. Oh, excuse me, we're at the max. And at the end, we are back at the min. Let me just explain that up here. So we start at the min, we end at the min, and in the middle, we are at our max. And notice this upward start. All right, let's continue. So you can see that these steps look relatively the same. I will tell you that our step 2 is definitely different. And that's because our starting point really actually depends on if it's positive or negative. And we've got a little bit bigger issue here in terms of actually acknowledging the fact if we have amplitude. So I'll get to that when we do, but just know that step 2 is going to be different for cosine. All right, let's get started here. So step 1 here is we have to find the min, the max, and the midline. So I kind of look at this first and I say, all right, I know this is going to be here from -3. We've got our midline there. And then we've got our 3 up here. All right, so here we now have to identify where our amplitude is going to change, and that's going to do with that +4. So I'm going to put a +4 here, and I'm going to change this so it's actually adding 4 to everything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a 7 here. Add 4 to 0, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 for our midline. Add 4 for -3, and we are at 1. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go down here and let's graph that. All right, I know I'm going to go up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a 1, a 4, and a 7. And I'm going to graph my and then, I don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and put a few points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right, now let's go to step 2. Determine the starting point from step 1 and then transform that point using a horizontal shift. Well, we really need to look and see if we're a positive cosine or a negative cosine, and then from there we can really think about what our shift will be. Okay, we're in the situation where we have a negative, so we're here. All right, so in other words, our starting point is actually going to be at the minimum. And so here you would think, okay, my starting point is actually going to be at the minimum here. You need to now refer to this. This will be kind of your minimum. But we also have to look at our vertical shift. Okay, so we would think, okay, my cosine graph's going to kind of go up all the way. Oopsie. go back to that. Where was that? I was saying that, you know, we would think, okay, it's going to do something like this, right? Well, actually, we have to look back at our plus 4. And if this is our kind of initial starting point here at, let's say, this is step 2 now, we're at 0 minus 3, we actually have to consider going right 2 and up 4 with it. So I'm going to have plus 2 and plus 4. See if I can explain that again. We know that our starting point is going to be on the min. So we have to kind of identify where that min is. And I've done that here, but that's not good enough. I also realized that all my points are going to go right 2 and up 4. So I'm going to add 2 and 4 to that, and I'm going to get the point 2 and then 1. So if I graph that, you can kind of verify that you've done it right by the fact that here I go right here. That is on my min. And I know I want it to be on my min because you can see from this graph that my first point starts at my min for a negative. All right, step 3 now. Step 3 says find the period and graph it. So I still did the same process of 2 pi divided by pi over 2. I feel like we've done this one a million times. It becomes 2 pi times 2 over pi, which becomes 4. So I'm just going to make that 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, just a reminder that we start for the negative cosine going up, and halfway we should be at our max. And at the end, we should be at our, oh my goodness, where'd it go? Okay, it should be, at the end, it should be at our min. At the middle, we should be at our max right here. So it looks kind of something like that. And then I'm going to do this over here again. At the beginning and the end of our period, we are on the min. In the middle, we are at our max. I'm going to go up and down like that. Go ahead and add arrows, and that's it. We're done. So really similar to what we did before, except finding that original point is a little bit trickier, and we'll get some more practice with it. All right, next one. Notice here that we have a positive, so that will be a little different than the last one. But we're going to tackle this first step. The first step says find the min, the max, and the midline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph my negative 2 to 2, and then realize that I actually have to go down 2. So I have to minus 2 for everything here. So that's going to give me an actual amplitude of a 0 and a minus 4. And if you want, you could draw your midline in there too as well. So that would be at a negative 2, if you will. All right, so now step 2. So step 2, we have to determine the starting point. So this is a positive cosine. So in theory, our starting point should be at our max, right? So that's the point 0, 2. However, what did we do with that, right? We're starting at our max. What did we do with that point? We went right 1, down 2. So I have to go right 1, down 2. And that's going to give me 1, 0. And that's my starting point. So let's go ahead, let's graph our min, max, midline, and our starting point. So I'm going to have something like this, and I'm going to go down to 4. That's my negative 4. And then I'm going to go to 0 here, mark that as 0. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm going to put my dotted line here, another one at 4, and then I do have one at negative 2 as well. All right. Now I've also got to plot my 1, 0, and this is such a nice way to check that you've done it right. Is that on my max? It sure is, and I know it's supposed to be on my max because I'm dealing with a positive cosine, and positive cosine starts at my max. Okay, step 3 is going to be to find the period, which in this case is going to be 2 pi divided by pi over 3, which becomes 2 pi times 3 over pi. Pi's cancel, and I'm left with 6. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as my periods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right, let's make sure we know the general shape. The general shape is going to be this right here. So I'm going to start at my max. I'm going to go to the end, and I'm also going to be at the max. And in the middle, I'm going to be at my min. So just like that. And I know this because it is a positive cosine, right? It starts down, and then it starts at the max, and it ends at the max, and in the middle, it's at the min. So I can just go ahead and kind of get that roughly put out. And then same thing here. Both my starting and my end of my period are at my max. In the middle there, I am at my min. Just going to go ahead and curve that just like that. Okay, don't forget your arrows. All right, let's take a look at this one here. So, step 1, let's graph our amplitude. So we're at a positive 2 and a negative 2. However, we know that we have to subtract 1 because of this. So that actually makes us at 1 and negative 3. And you can think of your midline at negative 1. All right, step 2. First, we have to realize that we've got a negative. So we're dealing with our starting point being kind of here, right at my negative 2. But if I'm at 0, negative 2, I know that point's also being transformed left 2 and down 1. So that's left 2 and down 1. Okay, so my starting point is actually at negative 2, negative 3. And you know, I kind of like to get my starting point first so I can graph just a little bit better. Now I know that I'm going to have more happening in the negatives, if you will. So I'm going to go kind of with my x-axis like this. All right, so let me graph. I've got 1, negative 1, and I'm going all the way to negative 3. I'm going to graph my max, my midline, and my min. And then I want to graph my starting point as well. So that's going to be negative 2, negative 3. And I'm happy again, right? Because I know that I should be starting on the min line for my negative cosine x. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and find the period. That's going to be 2 pi, in this case, over pi, which gives me 2. So I can just go ahead and do this. I'm getting really, really crazy there. All right, and number 4, that's the general shape. We know that's going to start like that. You know, and if it really helps you, you can kind of graph something like this and realize that you start on your min, you end on your min, and in the middle you're at your max. All right, so let's finish that up. So at the beginning, you're at your min. At the end, you're at your min. And then at the middle, you're at your max right there. I'm just going to get a few more going here just so I can kind of draw it all at once. Okay, let's see if I can get this. All right, I think I nailed it. Okay, that's it for video 16. Please let me know if you have any questions, and can't wait to teach you video 17. Thanks.